Hi everyone, my name is Mira, and the conflict that I chose to cover in this class is the Israeli and Palestinian war. Israel is a country and it's home to three major religions, which are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In general, Israelis follow the religion Judaism, whereas the Palestinians follow the religion Islam. To give you some important terms, um, Palestinians are of Arab descent and they identify as Muslim because they follow the Islam religion, and Israelis um, are Jewish because they follow the Judaism religion, and think of Israeli and Palestinians as a nation identity. So I would say that this is an interstate conflict because both sides want control of Israel territories and the battles are within Israel borders. Crisis Watch claims that 2022 was one of the worst years for the Palestinians located in the West Bank and Gaza, which are two territories in Israel where Palestinians dominantly populate. In the month of December is in 2022, Israelis raided the West Bank and Gaza over 460 times, killing Palestinians and destroying Palestinians' homes. Israelis far-right coalition entered office of Israel on December 29th, allowing Israelis to police the territories and settle in the territories. Crisis Watch determines that this conflict is a deteriorating situation from the development of Israelis coalition gaining military and political power to persecute the Palestinians. To determine when this conflict began and what parties are relevant, I think it's better to see a visual of Israel to understand the long-term history. So Israel is the only Jewish country, and it is located in the Middle East, bordering Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and the Mediterranean Sea. Israel is the origin of the Judaism religion. Over time, many groups have conquered Israel, which resulted in mass migration of the Jewish people moving to Western Europe. And then in the 7th century, the Arabs began conquering land in the Middle East, spreading the Islam religion and claiming Israel as their state. Jerusalem, which is in the middle of Israel, is the holy city or the capital of Israel, and it is home to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And then after World War II, the Jews began returning back to Israel, which catalyzed the conflict between the Israelis and Palestinians. In 1948, Israel was established as an independent state for the Jewish people. And in response, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq, all Arab nations, began warring with the Jews for control of Palestine. The Arabs were defeated and forced to live in the West Bank and Gaza territories. Ever since, the Israelis and Palestinians have fought for the control of Israel, believing that the other side stole their homeland. In the beginning of Israel's violence, I would consider this conflict to be global because they were constantly being persecuted by other world nations. And then in World War II, another global conflict began the return of Jewish people to their homeland. And the US and other neighboring countries of Israel have been aiding monetary or military um, needs to one side or the other. The conflict is also local and regional because that is where the fights are. And it's still global because there are a massive amount of immigrants fleeing to Europe or nearby countries to escape the extreme violence. And the volume in this war is the soldiers that bring the technology, including guns, drones, bombs, missiles, and other deadly military weapons. So, as a consequence of this conflict, Palestinians face the deterioration of their human rights and dignity. This picture is of a woman named Ola Nabate, who is a mother who's mourning the death of her young son who died because of this violence in Israel. And you can see that there are Israeli soldiers who are armed taunting this woman while she sobs over her son's graveyard. And eventually, one of them picks her up and strangles her, although not killing her. They still violently and brutally attack her. And then all of them start screaming in her face about how they're going to destroy this cemetery, which is sacred and historical to the Palestinian people. So, this is just one example of an act of terrorism from the Israeli side to the Palestinians. And there's no one direct path of suffering for the Palestinians. It's all intermingled. And the overall exposure to this violence has led extreme depression, PTSD, anxiety disorders, and other more severe mental health issues for these civilians. And that leads to an increase in alcoholism because they're trying to cope with these mental health issues, which ultimately cause an increase in domestic violence, especially for women and young children. And then, in addition to that, these women are facing routine physical, verbal, and sexual violence from the Israeli soldiers. And the Palestinians have no access to healthcare because, along with the bombing of their homes, their hospital and other health facilities were bombed. And that also leads to infant mortality rates that are increasing drastically every year. And then, in addition to that, the Palestinians are facing extreme poverty, extreme starvation, and lack of education. So, this conflict is not improving and is, excuse me, going to get worse every month. And this is the end of my presentation. So, thank you for watching and feel free to comment.